Hello YouTube, Bane666 here. So recently I came across a very interesting hangout with Chrisiousity, Michaela and Christy Winters. Yeah, some real interesting conspiracy level bullshit in this one. So let's pull it apart, shall we?
From neutral person, that neutral person, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, asks, if feminists are against silencing and bullying, etc., why is there such a backlash over fellow feminist Casey J's documentary, The Red Pill, being shown in cinemas? So, Chrisiousity, you're up first on that one.
And I'm going to say that I don't think there is. I looked into this originally when this whole thing broke about this petition. You know, I spoke out against it. Michaela did, you did, Christy, but it kept coming up and I knew people were going to ask. So I looked into it and honestly, I think it's all bullshit. So here's what I can tell you. So this petition comes out. It's by a Susie Smith, whoever, not, obviously that's just not a real name.
Well, it could actually be a real name, but look, I tend to agree. It is probably a made-up name by the person who started the petition. I wouldn't say it's obviously a made-up name, though.
And for 12 hours, right, you hear nothing. Like, it's not picked up by any major feminists. It's not in any blogs. It's nowhere. And the only thing I can find was one Twitter account with 52 followers posts something about it. It's not liked. It's not replied to. It's not retweeted. But somehow it gets 1,000 people, signing off on it.
Okay, so Chrisiousity tells us she's done research into this, and she's a little bit confused about how the petition went from like almost 0 signatures to 1,000 all of a sudden, and because apparently no feminists were retweeting it or trying to get the message out. So how did people hear about it? That's a very good question. As a skeptic, right? We should be asking questions like that. So let's have a look at the evidence and see if we can come to some kind of conclusion. Now, if we go to the actual petition, we see that they hit 1K on October 24th, 2016. So I have to wonder if anything else happened on October 24th, 2016. For example, like, I don't know, maybe take down MRAs sharing the petition link on Twitter on October 24th, 2016? Could those two things maybe be connected, Chrisiousity? Do you think? Do you think maybe someone with over 9,000 followers on Twitter tweeting a link to the petition and then the petition getting 1,000 signatures on the same day? Do you think maybe those two things could somehow be connected? Nah, probably not connected at all. That's probably just a coincidence, right? That's probably just a coincidence. And, you've done research into this clearly, as you said, so we should just take your word for it that it's somehow a men's rights conspiracy, right? Because that's where you're going with this.
And the people who sign off on it, you can go in and you can look at the comments. And I'm just going to read the number one comment that is, that was on it really quick. So this was the number one comment upvoted from someone who signed the petition. It reads, "I'm a spoiled, entitled, and ignorant harridan, incapable of processing thoughts and worldviews that differ from my own. As such, I feel entitled to stomp on others' rights to free expression, even as I falsely claim to be oppressed. It's all rather ironic, though sadly, I lack the mental acuity to even comprehend my own cognitive dissonance. In short, I'm nothing more than a little girl who desperately needs to pull up her pants and grow up. Toodles. So, and there are other comments on it that are similar.
Now, there are two possibilities here. The first possibility is that Chrisiousity is extremely lazy when it comes to research and has done an incredibly bad job in this circumstance. The other possibility is that she is lying to her audience, and those are the only two possibilities we have here. Let me explain. She reads one comment and then says that there are others like it, and she's correct. There's about 3 of them. Now, I actually went through over 200 of these comments for an upcoming video, and out of those 200 plus comments, I think I found a total of 3 comments like this. And those 3 comments were left after the petition reached its goal and the movie was dropped by the Kino. So clearly, those 3 comments were written by people who were pissed off and went in there and left trollish, angry comments to try to make a point. That was after the 2,300 and something signatures to get the movie blocked. But if you were to listen to Chrisiousity, then, it's nothing but comments like that. This is apparently typical, even though there's only about 3 of them there, out of hundreds. So either she has read a couple of comments on the first page and concluded that all of them are like that, which is incredibly lazy. It's incredibly poor research on her behalf. The other possibility is that she has read more of the comments and she is lying about them. There is no other explanation than those 2. And I'll go as far as to say a lot of the people who left comments were doing so in ignorance. They were leaving comments about how outraged they were that a pro-rape movie or a movie which is pro-violence against women was being shown in Melbourne. They were outraged at this. Now, this doesn't excuse them signing the petition, because they should take responsibility for what they signed. They should be well informed before putting their signature to something. But the reason they were doing this is because they've been lied to and misinformed. And they've signed it in pure outrage, anger and frustration. I don't understand why that is something that's hard to believe. People do this shit all the time online. Whereas Chrisiossity's version of events is 2,300 men's rights activists decided to collude together to try to get a movie banned so we would get free publicity. And she concluded this by either reading 2 or 3 comments or outright lying. And I don't know Chrisiousity well enough to know which of those is the case. I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt and say she's just incredibly lazy when it comes to research and didn't bother going through over 200 of the comments like I did. But let's continue.
So after this 12-hour period, again, it's not talked about. I don't know any feminists who've supported this.
Okay, so Chrisiousity says she doesn't know any feminists who supported this. So let's go to Chrisiossity's Twitter page and let's see who she's following. And if we scroll down long enough, we come across one, Take Down MRAs. So Chrisiossity is actually following the person who tweeted that people should go and sign the petition. Now, I'm willing to give Chrisiossity the benefit of the doubt here because I know personally I don't read every single tweet that comes through my feed. And it's quite possible Chrisiossity is exactly the same, and she missed the tweet by Take Down MRAs. But the statement that she doesn't know any feminists who supported this is in fact false, because she is following one of them on Twitter.
But it blows up on the manosphere, right? And there's actually a couple of counter petitions. The first one is kind of nasty, and then the second one comes out apparently when the theater actually decides not to show. And this is, demonstrates, they have up on this counter petition the email by which that they received saying no. And it's an email to Men's Rights Edmonton. And because what you find out when you look into it is that this was never meant to be shown to the public anyway.
So some interesting accusations here. So I thought I'd have a chat to David, formerly of Men's Rights Melbourne, and that will be explained in a second, about some of these accusations. So I did an off-air hangout with him, and here are some of the highlights answering these accusations. Okay, so do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm David Williams from Men's Respect Melbourne. Just recently.
Did you say Men's Respect?
That's right. Well, we've changed our name recently. We used to be Men's Rights Melbourne. We've done a branding change to Men's Respect just because I want to be more palatable to the public. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, if I ever do get the opportunity to talk to media, using that name, I think will get me a bit more in my foot in the door, just so to speak, and get them to be a bit more on my side. You know, men's rights will always win MRAs, but Men's Respect might get people who aren't MRAs to look at the issue without scoffing first.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know you'd done that. You must have just done it.
Yeah, very recently. Like less than 10 days ago. 10 days, something like that.
So
exactly.
was it meant to be a private screening, or
Absolutely
was it always
no,
open to the public?
Absolutely not. We made it clear from day one that we wanted this to be the Australian premiere. We wanted as many people there as possible. We wanted a function room with media. Like, we wanted it to be an event. Now, very few events where you have media and you have, proper photo opportunities, everything like that, are completely closed to, like, are private. They're meant to be advertised and made public, because that's the whole point of them, right?
And the Kino obviously knew this, if you were talking about a function room and that.
Absolutely, and they were giving us costs of function rooms and costs of red carpet hire, because we're literally going to have it be a red carpet event. And also there was many discussions of upgrading the size of the theatre because our ticket sales were going so well. So there was no possible way you could argue that they thought it was private if we kept on updating them with ticket sales and going, hey, can we get an even bigger theatre? Because usually at a private venue, you know exactly how many people are coming beforehand. But that, in their defense, that was a Kino's letter, and I guess we didn't clarify. We just said what they said. We didn't say they were lying because I guess that wasn't the main priority at the time. The main priority was to get what they said.
So the Kino lied about that then?
They did. That they were, well, I'm going to say disingenuous.
And Men's Rights Edmonton holding the rights to...
Yeah, exactly. Well, this was interesting. They mentioned how Men's Rights Edmonton somehow had had the licensing rights to show the movie in Melbourne. They're the ones who donated it to us. And I don't know where this came from. I don't know where they got that information. I don't know where they perceived it. I have no idea what they're talking about there. Like, I'm curious. I want to know where their sources from that.
Men's Rights Edmonton isn't even around anymore. So
no, they're not. They're, what are they? The Anti-Feminist Coalition, I believe.
Well, that's just Nick now, who used to be the head of Men's Rights Edmonton. But he folded it up earlier this year. I think he still uses the Men's Rights Edmonton Twitter thing, but that's it, as far as I know.
Yeah, exactly. And I talk to Nick every so often, but he had no part to play in the organising of this film whatsoever. Yeah,
I was a bit surprised at that. I know Nick had something to do with the Edmonton screening, because he asked me to help promote it.
Yes, he did. And he also
how did you get the rights then? I mean, I think we've talked about this on air before.
Yeah, well, we have. I had a private guy who I'm actually close friends with who donated the $1,000, and he backed it And so he backed it out of the Kickstarter. He's not part of any men's rights movement whatsoever. He's just, I guess, someone who, believes in the issues, but just does it from afar. Yeah.
So the guy who donated the money, is he an Aussie or a Canadian or what?
He's Australian.
So he's got nothing to do with Canada or Men's Rights Edmonton? Nothing whatsoever?
Not a thing. If I asked him, he wouldn't even know who Nick Redding is.
So I wonder where this Men's Rights Edmonton thing came from then.
That's why I said citation needed. I want to see it.
Yeah, strange.
Right. So they had, this men's rights group had basically rented out the theater for a night to privately screen it. And the theater was very upset with them to find out in this backhanded way that they were planning to open it up to the public and sell tickets. Obviously they were going to just pocket that money.
And you put a lot of unpaid time and effort into this, obviously, even before the Kino pulled out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us a bit about that.
Well, as we put in, me and all of the volunteers put in, me and my, I guess the main backer, we put in the bulk of our efforts, over hundreds of hours. In the end, in our final financial report, I did say that I got the remaining amount I did get in, which was roughly $1,400, which was, I guess, paid for 400 hours work, which is, I don't know if you call that fair enough or not, but I think it's reasonable. But before
that was the allegation, wasn't it? That it was a private screening. You claimed it was a private screening, but in fact you were trying to get the public in just to make a buck or something like that.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, we were hoping that the person and we could turn some sort of profit. We put time, money, effort, and everything into it. I'm not gonna lie and say we weren't hoping to turn this into some sort of thing where we can make everyone see the movie and also not spend thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours of effort for nothing.
Well, it is a bit of a strange allegation that someone who has the rights to a movie and wanting to show a movie would be bad for making a buck out of it.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
What does she think Hollywood does all the time? But
or anyone who ever shows a movie ever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously they're all evil and part of some conspiracy or something.
Yeah. Obviously, people showing The Hunting Grounds never made a penny.
Yeah. Well, of course not. But considering you put hundreds of hours into it, I don't think it really, if you're out to just make a buck, I don't think that's the best way to do it, is it?
Absolutely not. There's better ways to work 3 months and make $1,500 by working 300 hours. There's better ways using the exact same skills.
Yeah, if it's a money-making scheme, it's not a very well thought out one, is it?
No, it's not. That's just like a thanks for the efforts type of thing. It's what do you call it? Cherry on top.
So they say basically this was not our curatorial decision to have this. We've never seen this movie. We're not interested. You've gone back on what you said you were going to do. This isn't what we had agreed to. That's it. We're done.
Yeah, but the Kino only said that after there was public hysteria about this movie based on false information and lies. Basically, Chrisiousity, it was the Kino trying to cover its ass and make excuses.
So now Men's Rights Edmonton owns the rights of distribution in Australia because they contributed quite a bit to the Kickstarter, right? For this particular film. So I'm looking at all of these things and I'm looking it over, and it's incredibly sketchy.
No, Chrisiousity. The only thing that's incredibly sketchy is your ability to do research. The fact that you looked at a total of maybe 3 comments out of hundreds on the petition would suggest that you're not really good at research, are you? The fact that you claim that no feminist promoted the petition on Twitter, even though you're following one of them who did, someone who's got over 9,000 followers. You must have just missed that, or didn't really bother to do much research. I don't know. But I found it quite easily, by actually doing research. And the fact that you claim that Men's Rights Melbourne had told the Kino it was a private function, which they didn't, and the fact that you claim that Men's Rights Edmonton holds the rights to it in Australia, which is also false. Come to think of it, Chrisiousity, I don't know if you've got any facts right. Oh, hold on. You did get one thing right. I think you got the name of the movie right. So, I guess that's something, right? I guess that's better than nothing.
You know what I mean? There's just no way that I can look and say, oh yeah, that's totally legit.
There's no way you could find that it would be totally legit. So, in your opinion, have the millions of feminists in the world, there isn't one feminist who would start a petition like that. Not a single fucking one who would start a petition like that. And there's not 2,500 feminists who would be willing to sign it, especially when they're being misled about the content of the movie. You think that's an impossibility? Seriously? What fucking world do you live in, Chrisiousity? I just find that an amazing statement to make, that you don't think that it's in any way possible. Now, look, I should stress, I don't think that the person who started the petition represents all feminists. I do think a lot of the people who signed it do, because I think they signed it in outrage without doing fucking proper research. And that's the bullshit I see from your side all the time. Where they read something on social media which fits their ideology or their preconceived beliefs, and that's where their skepticism stops, without asking any more questions, and they go immediately into outrage mode, and then proceed to leave comments or sign petitions, exactly like the one we saw. I find it amazing that you think that is in some way inconceivable. I truly find that fucking astounding.
Yay. So I'm going to say, even if it was true, this would be one theater in one place, so it's not like it's happening everywhere.
The claim was it's only one theatre and it's not a big deal. So what was the fallout from the cinema backing out?
Well, after they backed out, I guess, and all the media was going to blue, I tried calling as many venues as possible. I tried calling Nova, I tried calling Backlot, I tried calling all those people, and they were very, very hesitant to do it in such short notice. They were offering maybe February, right? And I needed it in 8 days. So that was, and they were all like, hey, listen, we need to weigh into this controversy. They didn't say that, but they were saying, we're completely booked out for 3 months. But the fact is, with my experience with Palace, I know that's disingenuous. That it's very unlikely that they're booked out for 3 months, because I called the Palace and they had an 8 days notice at worst.
Okay, so the fallout was that it was extremely hard to find another theatre after the Kino had pulled out.
Yeah, exactly.
And how many theatres did you have to call to get that?
Well, in the end, I didn't even go to a theatre. We just went to our reception hall. But I called, I think it was 9 separate actual cinema companies. And I called roughly, not me personally, but me and everyone that worked together, all the volunteers, MHRA Connect, a few other people as well. We called Scout halls, Masonic halls, you name it, City Council halls. We just tried calling place until we finally found someone.
And I should point out that the screening in Sydney is presently under threat, so it's not just one place. But even if it was just one place, that's bad enough and should be called out. I guarantee you, if it was a group of men's rights activists who had blocked the screening of a feminist movie, even in one cinema in one place, you would be outraged. And so you should. I'd be outraged too. But I guarantee you that people on your side would be arguing that this is proof of patriarchy, proof that women are oppressed, they're trying to silence female voices, etc., etc., etc. We would never hear the end of it. And I guarantee you, you wouldn't be so quick to dismiss it or claim that it's a publicity stunt based on no fucking evidence. So I gotta say, Chrisiousity, why the fucking double standards?
But
Yeah.
it doesn't seem even like this one thing is. I'm sure there are probably some feminists who may have signed it. I don't know. But, you know, it's funny because this takes me back. One of the first things when I learned about skepticism and critical thinking, I learned about is looking at sort of these media, these things that get pulled, you know, these shenanigans. So it was taking me back to like the very first time I started to wise up to really looking at things skeptically. But that's...
Now, if you actually look beyond the top 2 or 3 comments, you cannot possibly come to this conclusion, which means one of 2 things is happening here. Either Chrisiousity is incredibly lazy and has only looked at a couple of comments and then assumed incorrectly that all the other comments are like that. Or alternatively, she has looked at more than the first couple of comments and now she's lying about it. Now, I don't know her well enough to know which one it is. I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt, which means in this case she's been incredibly lazy. It wouldn't take reading many comments to come to a completely different conclusion if you have an open mind. The only thing I can think of is that she started with the conclusion, saw the first couple of comments, and then just made the assumption that all the other comments and everyone who signed the petition is the same. That's not being skeptical. Once again, that's being lazy. And that's the best scenario. The worst case scenario is she's being completely fucking dishonest. But by all means, Chrisiousity, if you think I'm misrepresenting you here, give me 10 comments from the petition which are clearly fake. Now, there's 3 that I've seen. Can you give me another 7? It should be easy, right? I mean, I looked at 200 comments, and I think I found about 3 which were clearly written by people who were pissed off at the petition. But if your claim is correct, you should be able to find another 7 fucking easy. It should be simple for you to do that. Right? Should be a piece of cake. So please, by all means, give me another 7. Give me 10 in total. Comments which are clearly fake. I can give you about 200 which aren't. So I think asking for you to present 10, considering your claims, should be easy, right? If you're correct. If not, I think you owe David and every other MRA, for that matter, an apology. And I'm not joking here. I'm fucking serious. If you've made these comments and you've made a mistake, a legitimate mistake, as opposed to actually lying, which is the worst case scenario, then I'm hoping you will be the bigger person and admit that mistake and apologise publicly for making this bullshit claim. Alternatively, prove me wrong. Give me 10 fake comments. That's all.
So that's what I'm going to say to you, sir. I'm going to say, I think it's bogus. Maybe I'm wrong. I have no proof of anybody doing anything. So that's all I can tell you.
Yes, well, with the thorough research that you did, Chrisiousity, I can fully understand how you came to that conclusion. I mean, reading a total of 2 or 3 comments and then just assuming that all the rest are the same. And clearly you did, you know, a thorough research on Twitter trying to find any feminist who reposted it. I mean, it took me 5 minutes to find take down MRAs. A total of 5 minutes it took me. You must have searched for, I don't know, maybe 4.5 minutes. So maybe you came close. I mean, you're even following him on Twitter. Just must have missed that post, right? So, you know, clearly if you just ignore all the evidence, which is so easy to find if you actually look for it, then I guess the only conclusion you can come to is it's those evil MRAs doing a publicity stunt, right? You know, look, I'm really trying to give you the benefit of the doubt here, which still doesn't look good for you because it means that you really didn't do much research before coming to a conclusion, because this stuff is pretty easy to fucking find. It really didn't take me long to find it at all. So once again, if you've just made a mistake, then an apology would be in order. I think that's not asking too much, considering the allegations that you've made. And I do find it rather amazing that you can't conceive of the notion that there would be a feminist out there, just one feminist in the world, who would start a petition like this, and that there would be 2,500 or 2,300 people who would sign it. Especially considering, from the comments I've read, over 200 of them, they've been misinformed and lied to, and haven't bothered to do proper research to find out that what they're signing is legit or not. I don't see why that is such a bizarre concept. Are you new to the internet? Seriously. But it seems to me that you're going to great lengths to pretend that there aren't people out there like that on your side. Now, you said in your anti-SJWs, questions for anti-SJWs video, that you're serious about working with people from the other side, and you've started a group doing that. Fantastic. Fucking fantastic. That's great. I personally have been talking to people from the other side for a long time now, having constructive conversations. But when you put out stuff like this, Chrisiousity, it makes it a little bit harder to take that serious. So I'm hoping that this is just some laziness on your part, because trust me, the information I presented in this video was not hard to find. So I'm hoping it's laziness and not dishonesty.
I think you hit that answer out of the park, if I do say so myself.
So,
Oh, that's hilarious. Christy Winters, who is normally so pedantic about evidence, thinks that is enough. Wow. Absolutely fucking amazing. Nice to know there's no double standards, Christy. So tell us a little bit about that 3 months leading up, what you actually had to do.
Oh, well, it started off with, just basic marketing, finding out how many people wanted to go, finding out how many people were interested, getting all the things sorted, like the venue, making sure we had all the rights, making sure we could, how big we could make it, like where we were going to get a media wall, all that type of stuff. Seeing if we could get media there, that was a big part of our efforts, was trying to talk to, influential media and getting their contacts, which has ended up with me being quite successful with getting media contacts from anywhere from Milo Yiannopoulos to, The Age, the Herald Sun, and all those types of places. But that was the bulk of our work, was getting, I guess, contacts and getting also figuring out how to market it properly, which we did obviously pretty well, because we were the first ones in the world to sell out, other than, the Cassie J. Main premieres, but we were the first private people to sell out around the world.
And that was before the petition came out?
That was much before the petition. We were, but during that time, like other people were still working on raising the funds necessary to do that, and we at start didn't even rely on a crowdfund campaign. We just financed it ourselves. We needed to finance it with the new venue because it was far more expensive and far more complicated. But before that, we were only asking for ticket sales to be a contribution.
So you also had to get the print converted as well, didn't you?
Sorry?
Didn't you have to get the print converted?
You mean the DVD, the media?
No. Well, didn't the Kino have to convert the print that they got? I think you said that in the previous.
Yeah. Now I understand what you're saying. Well, they would have had to do that if they ended up going through with it, but because they cancelled on us, that became a non-issue. But they have to have a very particular type of format to show movies
At the Kino. So it's not everywhere. It's just
at the
Kino.
Kino.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe at other cinemas. I'm not too sure. Yes, I would have had to pay for that. It would have been roughly $350.
Oh, it's not too bad then. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not ludicrously expensive. But that being said, an entire venue costs $900 at the Kino.